In this lesson, we're going to see how to assign data to variables. And there's two ways to do it. First of all, before we start, let me introduce you to a new concept, the concept of the comment. The comment is a piece of text that is not intended for the compiler to compile, but for the person reading the program to read. So when I put comments in a program, it's primarily so that someone who's reading my program will gain something from reading the comment. A comment begins with 2 forward slashes. And then that's followed by the comment itself. So a comment can go on a line on its own or at the end of a line, so that when the compiler gets to the point where it sees the 2 double slashes, then it will just ignore the rest of what it sees. So now moving on to assigning data to variables. One way to do it is using something called the assignment statement. That's what my comment indicates there. The way you do that is you first create a variable or declare a variable. And then once you've declared the variable, then you assign it a value. To do that, we use the equal sign as the assignment operator. So this statement reads salary equals 20,000, but what it really says is assign the value 20,000 to the variable salary. So you'd read it, salary is assigned the value 20,000. In an assignment statement, we usually talk about the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the operator. On the left-hand side is always a variable, because that's the only thing we can assign data to. On the right-hand side can either be a piece of literal data, like a number, or an expression, such as 20,000 plus 2,000. What happens is when the compiler reads this line, it evaluates the expression to get 22,000 and then assigns that value to salary. So the assignment statement allows us to put data into a variable. Another way to assign data to a variable is to declare it and assign it data in the same line. This is also known as an initialization statement, because assigning the value 1.02 is initializing the variable with a piece of data or with a value. So these are the two ways to assign data, either via an assignment statement or via an initialization statement. Let me do a couple more initialization statements just so you can get the feel for how they work. We'll do one more. You should use initialization statements when you know in advance or at the time you're declaring the variable what the value is going to be. Sometimes you don't know, so all you can do is declare the variable. But if you do know at the time you're declaring the variable, you might as well go ahead and assign it the data and save yourself an extra line of code. Remember that with all these statements, you have to have a semicolon at the end of the line. And if you don't, you'll have an error in your code. So to review, we assign data to a variable using an assignment statement or an initialization statement. Assignment statements are used when the variable has already been declared and you want to put some data into it. The initialization statement is used when you want to assign the variable some data at the time that you're declaring the variable. So those are the two primary ways to put data into variables: assignment statement and initialization statement. And with the end of this lesson brings the end of the chapter, and now we're ready to move on to an exercise where we're going to work with the Hello World program and change its contents using variables.